result from Whisky for Water will be two blends, one named Maclean's Pillage, which is a blended malt, and one named Maclean's Spillage, which will be a blended Scotch. Dad's been working with a team of experts with Ardnamurchan Distillery and Royal Mile whiskies to figure out the best whiskies to put into the final blend.
I have invited two very good friends to assist me in putting together the Pillage and the Spillage blends. Keir Sword and Arthur Motley, they own Royal Mile whiskies. Our task today is to work out the proportion of whiskies to go into both the blended malt, Pillage, and the blended Scotch whisky with the grain component, which will be called Spillage. This will later be massively scaled up by Adelphi when they put together the full-scale blends. I'm with my dear friend Alex Bruce, who is Managing Director of Adelphi and also Managing Director of Ardnamurchan Distillery, where we are filming this.
The way I approach a blend is to have a finished product which is just exceptional to taste, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as the last one.
The idea is to establish the blends, return them to cask for a period of time, and then it will be bottled.
This is going to be a blended or vatted malt, and there is actually very little difference between a blended or vatted malt and a single malt. The only difference is the fact that a single malt is just from one distillery, but the ingredients are exactly the same.
I'm with Richard Patterson, the master blender for White & Mackay, a world-leading expert, and I'm seeking his advice about how we're going to create this blended malt from all the whiskies that we've been generously donated.
When I look at this array of samples, nearly 25 different component parts, these are like individual people. And what do we have to do as a blender is to bring them together to harmonize with each other. Every one of these distilleries have their own particular style, personality. The main objective of a blender is to create a style, but he must maintain the consistency. And by giving us these whiskies from these fabulous distilleries, we will have the consistency, but more importantly, we'll have that harmony.
We've got 380 bottles from 20 distilleries. So following on from my meeting with the master blender, I've marshaled them into what I call the mild bunch, the wild bunch, and the very smoky bunch.
The wild has four components, which are Talisker, Lechache, Bunnahabhain and Kilchoman. The big smoky one has Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Bowmore, Killila, Port Charlotte and Octomore. And then the mild bunch has Arran, Bruichladdich, Tobermory, Oban, Springbank, Ardnamurchan, Jura and Glen Scotia.
So let's start in the simplest possible way by adding equal parts of the three components.
Good start.
It's not too bad actually. It is very West Coast, and of course the smoke is coming through.
Yeah, it's got a beach feel, beach bonfire.
It's got that sort of mineral-like salt spray.
Can we now adjust with individual distilleries if you
Yeah.
want to put some individual character in there?
I think that'd be a good idea. It's worked very well.
So that's got a lot of Pedro Jimenez casks, and that kind of raisiny sweetness might serve it well.
That's tamed it a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that works. It really puts you on the West Coast,
Very much so.
standing in a harbour.
And that saltiness is still there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Campbelltown Loch when the tide's out. Yeah, I think that's very nice. It's got depth. It's now getting a slightly toffee note.
Yeah.
Sweet, salty, smoky. And the sweetness reminds me of that edible seaweed, the sweet seaweed. Now then, spillage. Tell us about spillage.
So I guess our job now, Charlie, is to work out the proportions of what we have left that hasn't gone into pillage, which is obviously a blend we're very, very happy with. Check the quality of that, which I'm sure will be excellent because we've got so many good ingredients. And then we will need to test the proportions of grain.
So 5 mils of wild. Smoky is 15 and mild is 30. So I'm rather hoping that the mild might balance the smoky. It is much milder, isn't
Yeah, it's
it?
very different.
That
No.
smoke may come out though.
Yep, I think that's right. It's still maritime, mineralic.
But it's very different.
It's very different, isn't it?
I'm quite excited about this. I really like that combination of young grain and smoky West Coast whiskey.
It's fresh, clean.
I like the sweet vanilla, light cereal
vanilla,
note that the grain brings to the blend. But I just wonder if it's lost a little bit of the Campbelltown character and we might want to put slightly less grain in.
I agree. That's better.
Yeah.
Immediately. That's restored the West Coast character and given it more body, I would say. Just a very slight cereal note. It's like sponge. Happy?
Very sessionable West Coast style.
It is. It really is. It's an open air whiskey.
These whiskies that have been passed by the distilleries are not just any whiskies. These are hand-selected, they're aged whiskies up to 16, even more years behind it. And it's certainly reflected when we've nosed them individually. So they're all handcrafted, they're hand-picked, but they're for a special occasion, for something really important. This is something that can be sipped, savoured, and reflect on what everybody has done. The industry has come together to help, and that's what it's about.
That's great, yeah. Pillage is much bigger, much more smoky on the nose. Yeah, that's a cracking good dram.
Yeah.
It is interesting because they're clearly sisters.
It's been really, really fascinating to take the same components and come up with such different results. I'm just really happy with the results we got. Very different but delicious products.
After all this, we have created two unique whiskies in very limited quantities. Maclean's Pillage is a blend of 16 West Coast malts. It is fresh and distinctly maritime in style. Spillage adds 40% grain whiskey from Girvan Distillery in Ayrshire. This has sweetened the flavour and modified the maritime character somewhat. Nothing would have been possible without the huge generosity of the distillers who donated whiskey, the designers, printers and packagers who donated cartons. I raise my glass to everyone involved in Team Broar's adventure. Sláinte.